Guys, welcome to the last day. I know it's not Casual Friday and I'm wearing a t-shirt, but like we're celebrating. I'm more excited than you. Today we are doing rehearsal 23 to the end. This part is so cool. If you are a delinquent and you did not listen to the recording, go listen to this part because this is some seriously metal classical music. Benny, do not come for me. I love this part. It is so cool. Click on your timestamp in the description box and here we go. Okay, first violins. So we have basically three sections here and I'm going to talk about 23 to 24 first. I'm going to recommend that you guys practice this the same way that I learned it because I had to kind of break it down to get my head wrapped around what was going on here. We've got lots of syncopated rhythm and we've got some slides thrown in there as well, and we're dealing with three flats. So let's start with that. We've got three flats: B flat, E flat, and A flat. When you're starting out here, I would recommend playing it through without the slides and slowing it down. So I set my metronome at 90 and I just figured out the rhythm and the bowing. The rhythm here is 1 E and a 2 and 1 and 1 E and a 2 and 1 and. I would highly recommend writing in the counting especially if you are someone who struggles with counting. So I'm going to play it through, like I said, at quarter note equals 90 without the slides first. I'm going to do this in third position and hit that high G with a fourth finger. 3, 4. I also wrote in all of my flats. Now, the second step I would recommend would be to play it through without the slides again, but at full tempo, so quarter note equals 120. 3, 4. Then for the final step, I would add the slides. The way that I am interpreting this, instead of sliding from G to G, is just playing the G and then using my fourth finger to slide into that second G. I hope that makes sense. So in slow motion, you would have, use your fourth finger and then use your fourth finger again. Okay, so we're not like gonna use our first finger to slide from this G up an octave on the D string, okay? So again, in slow motion, you would have, we're gonna hit that high G, we're gonna end our slide on the notes that are printed. It is an effect, but it's an effect that has a definite landing point. You should be ending on G. Try not to under or overshoot it, although obviously, you've listened to the recording. There's a lot going on here, so that if you don't hit it exactly, it's not the end of the world, but that should be your goal. So now I'm going to play through this section at full tempo with the slides. Keep in mind the bowing is the same throughout this whole thing, so that slide up is going to be on an up bow, and that does help reset for the down bow at the beginning of the next measure. 3, 4. So there you go. That's how I would practice this section. Once you kind of get past the first, because when I looked at this initially, I was like, oh Lord. But once you get past that and break it down, it's really fun and not that bad. So now let's look at this next part, which would be 24 to 25. We're back in 4 flats, and we're back playing this main theme. We've seen this multiple times before across every section. The most difficult part of this, I would say, is making sure you catch all of those flats. Again, I would write them in. You can do this all in first position, starting here on C, D flat, C, D flat, 3 and 2 are going to touch. You've got an accidental E natural, so you've got 1, 2, low 4 for A flat again, C, E, D flat, still at the end of that measure, 3, 2, 3. That takes us to 155, same fingering. 156, you've got D sharp to E natural. I would highly recommend doing half position 1 to 2, but you can do 1 to 1, that's okay. B flat, E flat, D flat, still good there. And then those 4 measures repeat, and that takes us to 25. Here at 25, we're quoting Vivaldi in a very almost grotesque way. So very cool, very loud, very harsh. Make sure you get that A flat there at 25, G natural for the next 2 measures. Then 164, 5, and 6, it says divisi a 4, so we're going to be dividing it in 4 parts. And I think the best way to do this would be by stand and by staff. So for instance, stand number 1 would play the top staff inside outside. Stand number 2 would play the bottom staff inside outside, top bottom. 3, so odd stands would play the top. Obviously we don't know who's gonna play what, so just pick your favorite note. I don't care which one you do. So you'll either be playing G natural, F natural, G flat, or E natural. Then finally, rehearsal 26 to the end is like our final jab of this main melody, and it ends with a slide down, and it is divisi. I think that pretty much covers everything. I'm going to play through the whole thing now from 23 to the end, quarter note equals 120. 3, 4. Okay, that's it. Have fun practicing this, you guys. You should be practicing this section as well as the whole piece. I'll hear your recordings from this week tomorrow, and then next week we'll do our full run through. Have a great weekend. Okay, second violins. So we've basically got 3 sections here, and I'm going to talk through rehearsal 23 to 24 first. Now there's a lot going on here. Obviously you've got slides and you've got a lot of syncopation as well as 3 flats. So let's start there. You've got B flat, E flat, and A flat, but no D flat, okay? So I would mark in any flats that you might miss. For me, that's definitely A flat. So for instance, in measure 148, I'm going to put an arrow down over that. And then in measure 152, you have a D flat accidental. Use a low 3 for that. All of this is going to be, well, okay. Use a low 3 for that. This section is going to be done all in 3rd position, but you're going to use, no, it's not. This section is going to alternate between 3rd position and 1st position. At 23 in measure 145, you're going to use open D, and then you're going to be in 3rd position for the last 2 notes. The next measure will be in 1st. The next measure you're going to go back to 3rd and do the exact same thing. Next measure in 1st. That brings us to 149, 3rd position, 1st position, 3rd, 1st. So every other measure you're shifting back and forth, but it's not as bad as it sounds because you have plenty of open Ds to shift. Now, I would highly recommend practicing this first without the slides and doing it slowly just to get the rhythm. So the rhythm here is 1 E and a 2, and 1, and 1 E and a 2, and 1, and all of these bowings that are in here are good, so all of those high Ds are going to be on an up bow, which will set you up to do a down bow in the next measure. I'm going to play through from 23 to 24 at quarter note equals 90 and without the slides first. 3, 4. Okay, so I would do that first, and then once you get comfortable with that, I would play without the slides again, but up to tempo. So here it is without the slides at 120. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then all you've got to do is add the slides. Now, technically, it's notated here, this first slide in 23, it's notated that you would be sliding from the low D to the high D. I'm not interpreting it that way. What I would like you guys to do is just, so you're in third position, you're going to be playing open D. Instead of sliding literally from open D up to high D, which would be up here, we're just going to play open D and then use our first finger to slide maybe a whole step into that D, okay? And then our fourth finger to do the same for the very last D. So in slow motion, it would look like this. Slide, slide. So you're sliding from about C natural to D both times, okay? And then up to tempo. So now I'm going to play from 23 to 24, full tempo with the slides added. 3, 4. Now, let's talk about 24 to 25. So here we've got this famous melody that we've heard multiple times across all the sections. However, do notice that we go back into 4 flats. So for instance, here at 24, you've got low 4, G, F, low 4 for A flat, G, A. High 2, you've got a B natural accidental, C, low 2, low 4, low 1 for B flat, 4, 3, 4. G, F natural, E natural accidental, 4, 3, 4, and then it repeats like that all the way to the end. Then 25 to 26, he's quoting Vivaldi. Then at 164, we've got a divided staff, and it says it's also divided within each staff, and it says divisi a 4. So how we would handle that would be the odd stands, so like 1, 3, 5 would play this top staff, and they would divide it inside outside, and then the even stands, so like 2, 4, would play the bottom staff, and they would divide that inside outside. Now obviously we don't know our seating, so just pick your favorite note. I don't care which one you pick. You'll either be playing here at 164 E flat, D natural, that accidental on the lower staff, or C. So whichever note floats your boat, it's fine with me. And finally, 26 to the end, you're playing in unison with the first violins, and you've got one more jab at this melody. I would recommend starting in first position and shifting up on the C, but you could certainly start in third, whatever. Then, when we get to that divisi slide down, outside players, you'll be sliding from C flat. So that flat applies to the C on top, right? Because the B flat's already in the key signature. So you'll be sliding from C flat, which is the same as B natural. Inside players will be sliding from B flat. Okay, so it's a minor second apart there. The way that we're going to do this, no tremolo. It's going to be a smooth bow in the right hand, changing at random, and then basically a vibrato. Okay, so you're going to do kind of an exaggerated vibrato as you slide down. So in slow motion, it would be, and you're going to, like I just did, you're not done when you get to the end of the E string. You're going to go on A and then also on D, because that slide down indication goes all the way through the staff. With that being said, I think that pretty much covers everything in this section. So I'm going to go ahead and play through 23 to the end. Quarter note equals 120. 3, 4. Okay, there you go. Really fun piece. I'm so excited that you guys get to play this. It's just really fun and cool. So have fun practicing. You should be practicing the entire piece now. I'll hear your recordings from this week tomorrow, and then next week we'll do our full run through and be done. Have a great weekend. Okay, violas. So this is basically in 3 sections, and I'm going to talk about 23 to 24 first. I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I told the violins because you're all doing the same thing. I would recommend practicing it first slow and without the slides just to get the rhythm and the bowing here. So notice that all of these high slides are on an up bow, and that sets you up for a down bow in the beginning of the next measure. So here you're playing 1 E and a 2 and 1 and 1 E and a 2 and etc. and it repeats. Both of those slides are going to be on up bow, so it's down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down. The fingering for this part, you're going to be alternating measure by measure between first and third. So starting at 23, you're going to be in third position. Play open G here, third with a 1, and then high G with a 4. Shift to first position, and then again, third, first, third, etc. And then on the very last slide, measure 151. This one's a little tricky. What I'm doing is first position, low 1 for the A flat, and then sliding up on a first finger to the second A flat, and then just using the octave 4 for the high A flat. Then back to first position for 152. First, I'm going to play through slowly at quarter note equals 90 without the slides. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next step I would recommend is playing through it again without the slides, but up to tempo, so quarter note equals 120. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then finally adding the slides. So I'm interpreting the slides maybe a little differently than they're written, because technically it looks like it's implied that you're supposed to be sliding all the way from the low note to the high note, but instead of doing that, I'm just sliding maybe a major second, so a whole step from whatever finger that second note is on. So in slow motion, sliding from about F natural up to that G, and then again with my fourth finger. Okay, so now I'm going to play through it full tempo with the slides. 3, 4. That section. Okay, so now let's look at 24 to 25. So we're back into 4 flats here, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat. And I think that's the most challenging part about this because we have seen this rhythm and bowing before. I would recommend doing this entire section in third position and just either moving your first finger back for B natural and then sliding it up, or doing low 1 for the B natural, second finger for the C, and then just reaching for the F. So I'm talking about here at 24, starting on C, third position, 1, D flat, C, D flat, B natural, back a half step with your first finger, C, C, F, or B natural, back a half step, C with your second finger, and then reaching for F. Either way is fine, but if you continue in that way, you can do this entire section in third position. That brings us to 25, where we're quoting Vivaldi again. You start with up, down, up, and then the pattern continues down, down, up, and there'll be a little lift in there. This part is very heavy, very loud, so don't worry about, crashing into that down bow, because there's a lot going on and it's all going to be loud. At 164, you've got a divided staff and it says divisi a 4. How I think we should handle this is the odd stands, so like stand number 1, stand number 3, stand number 5, would play the top staff and divide it inside, outside, top and bottom. And then the even stands, so stand 2 and 4, would play the bottom staff and then divide those notes inside, outside. Obviously, we don't know what the seating is going to be, so just for the purposes of this recording, pick your favorite note. So you're either going to be playing A natural, G natural, A flat, or G flat on that first measure, and then C natural, and then B natural, and that takes us to 26. Here at 26, you guys are playing the same thing as the violins. You're going to want to do this all in third position. So you've got C, F, A flat, C, B flat, A flat, B flat, and then C flat, which is the same as B natural. So what you're going to do for this last note is you're going to hit the B natural with a third finger in third position, and then this little wavy line down is basically a slide with vibrato at the same time. And you'll notice that that indicates going all the way through the staff. So you're not done when you get to the end of the D string. You're going to reset your hand on the G string and keep going all the way until you get cut off. Now there's no fermata on this. It says diminuendo al niente, which means get softer until you're at nothing. So you basically just hold it and get softer and softer, change bows at random. It's not a tremolo. Okay, so just to demonstrate, it'll sound like this. And then we'll try to all end on a down bow. Everybody's doing this same thing at the end. So third position, hit the B natural, and then slide down with vibrato. Okay, and that's this section. I think definitely 23 to 24 is the trickiest part. And once you follow those steps, it's not as bad as it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and set my metronome at quarter note equals 120 and play through. 3, 4. Okay, and that's it for this section. You guys should be practicing this as well as the entire piece now. I will hear your recordings from this week tomorrow, and then next week we'll do our full playthrough and be done. Have a great weekend. Okay, cellos. So basically this is in two separate sections. So from 23 to 25, you've got this very familiar quarter note with the slides kind of marching situation. So that shouldn't give you any trouble. Just notice 23, we're in 3 flats, B, E, A, and then in 24, you go back to 4 flats and you add that D flat. So just, make sure you take a really close look at this and mark in any flats that you might miss. Then at 25, we're quoting Vivaldi, which is really cool. You've got down, down, up, down, up, down, up, and those separate eighth notes are going to be nice and short. And this is all very heavy. If you listen to the recording, there's a lot going on. It's very loud. And then at 164, it's divisi a 4. Now, unfortunately, to do a divisi a 4, you have to have at least 4 people. So now when the German orchestra joins us, we certainly will, but for now, just pick your favorite note. Theoretically, how we would handle this would be the odd stands, so like stand number 1, stand number 3, etc., would play the top staff and divide it inside outside, and then the even stand, stand number 2, stand number 4, would play the bottom staff and divide that inside outside. So like I said, pick your favorite note. You're either going to be playing G, F, G flat, or E natural. Then at 26, your odd tempo, there's a little slowdown, we're not going to worry about that, but 26, you're in unison and everybody has this exact same thing. So you've got 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4, and then on the and of 4, you're going to hit this note. Now notice there's a little tenor clef there, so the notes are either going to be B flat on the bottom or C flat on the top. That flat there applies to the C, not the B. The B flat's already in the key signature. So if you're on the inside, you're playing B flat. If you're on the outside, you're playing C flat, which is the same as B natural. And you're going to hit that note on an accent, and then with smooth bows, this is not a tremolo, you're going to do vibrato as you slide down the string. Now, you'll notice that that slide is indicated all the way through the staff, so you're not done when you get to the end of the A string. You're going to keep going and resetting your hand just at random. There's no specific spot. It's an effect, obviously, so you just keep, vibrato and changing bow as you want. And then it says diminuendo al niente, which means getting softer until you're at nothing. So just softer, 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 counting through those measures, and we'll try to end on a down bow. So it's going to sound like this. Okay, and that's pretty much it for this section. So I'm going to go ahead and set my metronome at quarter note equals 120 and play from 23 to the end. 3, 4. Okay, and that's it for this section. So you guys should be practicing this part as well as the entire piece. I'll hear your recordings for this week tomorrow, and then next week we'll do our full run through and be done. All right, have a great weekend. Okay, basses. So 23 to the end can basically be looked at in 2 sections. From 23 to 25, we're doing this very familiar quarter note with the slides kind of marching situation. Just notice that at 23, we've got 3 flats, B flat, E flat, A flat, and then 24, it goes to 4 flats, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat. Make sure you're marking in any flats that you might miss. Then at 25, we're quoting Vivaldi again, and you've got the down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Those bowings are good. The 8th notes will be separated. And then when you get to 163, obviously divided top staff, bottom staff. And that brings us to 166, where there's a little bit of a slowdown. As usual, we're not going to worry about it for now. And then 26 to the end, the entire orchestra has this in unison. So you've got rest on 1, down, up, down, up, down, up. Then you're going to hit on the and of 4. If it divided, it's either going to be a B natural, which is the same as C flat. So that top note, that flat applies to the top note, which in tenor clef is C flat or B natural, or B flat, which is the bottom note in tenor clef. So whichever one, you hit it on a down bow, and then you're going to do just normal bows, back and forth, stagger bow whenever you run out, not tremolo, and you're going to slide down with vibrato. okay? When you get to the end of the G string, you just reset on D and then keep going. As you can see, those squiggly lines go all the way through the staff, so we're not just doing one string. You're going to reset at random on the next one. It's just an effect. Changing bows whenever you run out. It says diminuendo al niente, which means getting softer until nothing. So you just get softer and softer and softer and try to end on a down bow. Okay, so that's it for this section. I'm going to go ahead and set my metronome at quarter note equals 120 and play rehearsal 23 to the end. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that's it for this section. So you guys should be practicing this part as well as the entire piece. Tomorrow I'll hear your recordings from this week, and then next week we'll do our full run through and be done. Have a great weekend.